What is up, Internet Land? Zekimus Prime, aka Zekimus Prime, here with another video review, and today we're actually not reviewing Transformers or third party. We're reviewing something made by Hasbro. You've already seen the thumbnail, so you know it's the Zord Ascension project, Megazord. And this is the Megazord that the original one came out in like 1993 or something like that. And I used to watch a lot of Power Rangers when I was a kid. I used to watch it just like all the time. And I watched up into the Zeo Rangers era, and then I kind of dropped off. But yeah, I have long wanted a what I consider a definitive Megazord. And this isn't quite what I wanted, but it's the closest I'm going to get. So let me start at the beginning and we'll get there. Hold on. Now, with most figures, I tend to start in the robot mode and then work my way into vehicle mode and then finish off that way. But with combining figures, I tend to work on all the individual modes and then go into the combined mode. So that's how I'm going to do it here. So I'm going to start with the T-Rex, the Tyrannosaurus. And God, this figure impressed me in a lot of ways. I like that there's so much additional like sculpted details. Everything is pretty well like color accurate to how it was in the show. I've actually been spending a lot of time lately rewatching the show. So, and that's its own experience, let me tell you what. But yeah, there's actually so there's a lot of detail that on these figures that's not on the characters in the show, which I don't necessarily mind. I like the mechanical engineering aspect of it, and I like the additional surface sculpt and technical details you can see, stuff like that. I enjoy that an awful lot. And I also like that they're, going for the more show accurate, which means Japanese accurate, as opposed to taking off a lot of the identifying marks and just putting like lightning bolts and stuff on there. So, because if we compare it with the original one, surprise, this is actually a comparison as well. Here it is with the original one from 93, and you can see that the proportions are, it's a little more like thin and svelte looking. There's just a lot of really good, and don't get me wrong, like this toy is still a good toy even all this time later. So I'm actually borrowing this from my brother. This is the actual set that I used to play with when I was a kid, but it's not mine, it's his. And it just so much nostalgia is tied up in that original figure. And in a lot of ways, this set doesn't trigger that nostalgia really a whole lot. It, feels like a completely new figure, because it is, of course, a completely new figure. But I do like, just, you can see like detail sculpted into the eyes and on the nose. They've got the little like blasters in the mouth. I do wish that they had closed this up fully. The original guy had just like this whole like section that went over the Megazord face, and this one only goes over like half of it, which is kind of a bummer. Like, there's no real reason why they couldn't have done the whole thing. He's got ball joints here at the shoulders and an elbow joint. That's nice. Waist joint here. This is going to show up later. No posability in the tail unless you count this folding section. That's part of the transformation combination part. His hips are on ratchets, and then they also ratchet in and out. And this ratchet in and out, I'm of two minds about, because on the one hand, like, I really, really recognize that it really needs to be there for stability, but at the same time, when your ratchet choices are here and here, it's way too big of a gap. Whereas like this one here, look at the angle of that leg, and like one click over, like there's a much smaller angle being involved in the forward and back versus the in and out motion, and I wish that they had done that with the in and out, because it makes posing the Megazord a bit awkward. It makes posing the T-Rex a bit awkward. He's got knee joints here, and this joint here bugs me to no end. I really wish that they had done something to secure that joint. And of course, that's an essential joint for the tank mode, which I guess I will be showing because it is part of the thing. But on this one here, that joint's locked up, and then you push this little button on the hip, and that moves that forward. And something like that, or even just putting in like a ratchet or a detent would have made that better. But this is just, it is just a simple hinge, and it goes too far. It comes into play when you're playing with as the T-Rex. It comes into play when you're playing with it as the Megazord, and it's only needed for like a little bit of the battle tank mode, and I don't like that. I do like the molded red plastic on the shins. That's all very good looking. But yeah, some of the interesting pieces of detailing on here. You got this little green chunk in here. I'm not sure if that's show accurate or not, but it's just kind of like, on the one hand, I feel like it's gotta be, because it's such a little random piece of detailing that it's gotta be. But on the other hand, I'm like, I don't know, I've never seen anything like that. Also, you can pop this open here, and there is, let me get some light on this situation. Little Red Ranger hanging out inside there. Unfortunately, no paint. But yeah, so posability is decent. Sculpt is really good. It's a nice little figure. Let's put him to the side. And I don't know, we'll just pick the Tyrannosaurus. The only issue that I have with, I don't really have an issue with this one either. I think that it's pretty good looking. The sculpt is really good. I do like that everything on it is painted. There's mechanical detail sculpted in everywhere. Stuff that was just like stickers before is now sculpted in. And I just love all of that. The paint apps are really good. You've got this section here which has got, you know, like silver on the sides and black in the middle, and that is a really good piece of detail, you know. The stuff over here, I'm not sure exactly how this is, what this is all supposed to be. I think now I was told that, because we're used to seeing the big old M's on the Megazord's shoulders, and that's why it's the Megazord, that's what the M is for, right? But I was also told that all of the figures have got the letter of the name on it. So this is like a big old exaggerated T because this is the Tyrannosaurus. And I suppose if you look at it like this is almost like an exact, if you look at this end here going all around, you know, like this side of the T is just doing its own thing, and this side of the T is like doing this sort of thing. Like, maybe that is like a T, or even maybe it's more like a T and an R, like a Triceratops. I don't know. But it does kind of do that, because I also noticed that on the Sabertooth Tiger, that's like an S and that's like a T. So there's your Sabertooth Tiger. And then I couldn't find anything that looks like a P on the pterodactyl. Unless you maybe qualify this shape as a highly stylized P. But anyhow, back to the one we're actually talking about. Triceratops. The only real thing about this that I wish that they had done is wheels. I wish that he had wheels. And I know that this is oriented at adult collectors, and that adult collectors typically are more concerned with displaying rather than playing. And so they're maybe not as keen on putting in play features. But I don't know. I mean, they put in an opening mouth and the cockpit, so why not? I don't know. He doesn't have his horns come off. They don't have chains underneath, which is, you know, I mean, he only used that like twice in the show, so it's not like a really big issue. But it would have been fun if they had done that. Tail moves a little bit, and you can move this little blaster part around. And that's pretty much all that there is to it. It's a really simple Zord. I do like, you know, again, there's a lot of painted detail, like this white accent here, and the sculpted detail, like in the eye. Let me show the sculpt on that. I really like all that. I think that's really well done. Gosh, look at all this detail that's on the ass end of it. Really, really cool. I super like it. Next up, let's look at the Sabertooth Tiger. Now, one of the things that I've always wished about the Sabertooth Tiger is I wish that it would have like actual like leg joints. And this one kind of does that. It's got leg joints, both in the front and in the back. Because the proportions of this are more svelte. This is more like really keen on the proportions of the overall Megazord. So like its legs are really close together. Its back legs are really close together. It feels kind of cramped, but it's got some like a ball joint in the head, so it's got some good posability in the head. Mouth opens and closes. Again, with the cockpit details. No rolling tires on this, which is something that, you know, the original one had. Rolling wheels on the front and the back legs. But, you know, some of these Zords, the new ones feel lighter, and some of them they feel heavier. I think this is the one where I would say that the new one feels a little bit heavier. But again, with the sculpted detail, look at this like cool detail like sculpted into the back versus it's just a sticker on here. And I mean, the stickers on these were actually pretty great. There's only a few stickers on this whole set that are peeling and whatnot. Now, granted, this got played with for about, you know, 4 or 5 years, and then it's mostly been in storage and all the time since, but still, like, the stickers have aged really well. There's a little bit of ball joint here. That's mostly for the Megazord mode. You get some detent on the arms here. Really good sculpt work on that. I don't know, I talk about the sculpt work, but like the sculpt work is phenomenal on every bit of this. Though I will say my favorite part of this, for some reason, that particular click joint just gives me the fuzzies. I love that. I love that ratchet joint. I don't know why, but I do. It just feels solid, and it is solid. So, the Mastodon typically has always just done absolutely nothing, and this is really no exception. They did kind of want to go the Soul of Chogokin route, and so you got these covers that go over the sides. The covers are removable. They're not attached to the shoulder like they are in the Soul of Chogokin, so it really is just, you know, as I mentioned before, trying to lick the boots of the Soul of Chogokin without actually mimicking it. Also, there's no real posability in the snout. It just kind of rotates a little bit. But yeah, nothing really moves. You can get like this action going on here. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be a feature that you are expected to use in the Megazord mode or in the Mastodon mode, but yeah, you can move the legs. I've got a spudger for this. Or do I? There we go. And it's all super dark inside, but you can just barely see it. The sculpt on it, and of course, unfortunately, because it's all monochromatic in there, for all of these rangers, it's really hard to see the sculpt. But the sculpt is actually not awful. You can see like the diamond design on their chest and whatnot. So it's something. It's better than nothing. But yeah, in comparison with the original, of course they changed up the design of the M for the American release, so it just it doesn't do all the same things. It doesn't look the same, and of course all these things are all stickers. But yeah, they're even almost the same size. So the some of these Zords end up being ever so slightly smaller, and some of them end up being ever so slightly larger. And this is an example where it comes out ever so slightly smaller, though the Megazord in general comes out ever so slightly larger than the original one. So little red paint apps here on the feet and the back feet too. Like that's an attention to detail, you know. I like all of it. I really like this little like cross hatching in the M, the sculpted details all along here. It just looks really good. It's, I don't know. It's like a 90s design with a 2020s flair, you know? So, and then last but not least, we've got the Pterodactyl, who also does not do a whole lot in the show, both and in the toy. Though they did add a joint here, so the little Zord can just like do crunches or whatnot. I wish that this neck joint were a little bit tighter. Like, it'll hold its head like that just fine, and it'll even hold its head at lower angles, but then you get to this point and it just kind of wants to drop. You do have an opening cockpit here, and you can see the Pink Ranger in there painted in pink. sculpted in white. The wings do their little moving thing. In this particular, I mean, of course, this Zord has always got like a lot of like distance from the front to the back. It would have been nice if there was some way to mitigate that, but A, it wouldn't have been accurate, and B, it just would have been really difficult with how thin everything is in here. These the guns do clip onto the fins to kind of like stand it up. There's the original for comparison. Again, these original toys have just stood up really, really well. This joint, while it is kind of fun to have the joint in there, it could stand to be a little bit tighter. And maybe a little bit of the tiki joint tightening shmoo will work out pretty well. But yeah, just everything looks really good. Anyhow, let's get these combined up into their battle tank mode. So we want to put the teeth up, put the legs up, fold these legs in, go like so. This one here is going to fold in, and then we're going to collapse this. Again, another feature that they took from the Solo Chigoken. These are going to just come straight off, and in this mode they don't do anything, which is, I don't know, fine, since this is how I was always used to it, so this isn't even the biggest issue to me personally, but I also recognize how having them covered is better than not. Take this off right here. And we want to extend these, and then go like so. And we'll take these guns real quick and we'll transfer them over to here. Now I know that I think they're supposed to go on like this, but I always like putting them on like that. And then last but not least, we'll take the Tyrannosaurus. We're going to straighten out his legs, and then these will actually slide over. See that? And then we're going to open up the shin part here, fold at the knee, and then basically we're going to pull out this combination joint right here. Now, when the old Zord builder Megazord came out, I almost purchased that and was like, yeah, this is going to be my Megazord. But actually, so it had these pegs were just permanently molded into the knees, and they never went away. And I did not like that at all, not one little bit. I felt that was just kind of a lazy design, and I felt that it was kind of sloppy. Of course, I mean, the one that I was raised on had this cool function where the knee clips in. You've got these big red, you can see those big red discs in here. Those are spring loaded. And they'll like clip into here and grab that super securely. And I'm like, yeah, that's totally the way it should be. And they've got the functionality. They've got the details molded in. There's no reason why they couldn't do that. But in retrospection, I can see some of the reasons why they didn't. So to get this transfer combined up, I'm going to take and do this right now while this is easy to get to. You want to take this and stick it on there, and then you have to press it in till it clicks on. Attach on these guys here. And bring this in. And then last but not least, let's close up the wings on the pterodactyl. And it's got these two little tabs here that plug into these two little slots here on the back. And there you have the Dino Zords in their battle tank, assault tank, something tank mode. And surprising absolutely no one, this is the least compelling mode of the team. I mean, it's like for a couple uses they had like, oh yeah, we're actually going to do this, and then, you know, dish out a whole bunch of damage to the bad guy in this mode, and this is all we need to do. But like, more often than not, this was just like, you know, they're all rolling along in the desert or whatnot, and they combine up, and then they, you know, they combine up and they roll along for like a few frames until they stand up into the Megazord. And so this just became like an interim mode that they did for a little bit. I do like that they have like a little wheel detail down here on the tail, so it looks like the tail is actually like rolling along and not just dragging along. It's just, I don't know, it's just kind of, again, because nothing on this actually rolls, also I feel like this original one, like, I feel like it holds together a bit better. Like, when I brought this up, I literally just picked it up by the head, and everything stays rigid, whereas this one would definitely be more droopy. Of course, you know, this is designed for, you know, posability. So it's got a lot more like smoother joints. It's got, you know, a lot of joints in here aren't even ratcheted and whatnot. Whereas this, like, everything clips together with really big C-clips and is detinted and ratcheted, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, you know? So, like, it's almost like the old discussion of, if you're into Macross figures, the old discussion of the like a modern VF1 like the Soul of Chigokin versus the old, what they call the Chunky Monkeys, from the 90s. From the 80s, sorry. Wow, it has been a while, hasn't it? In that, in terms of look and aesthetics, like, you really can't beat a modern Valkyrie. But in terms of durability and just solid toyness, you can't beat a Chunky Monkey. And it's the same sort of thing with the Megazord. You know, in terms of aesthetics and design, like, I really feel that this figure is just absolutely far and away like the better figure without any hesitation whatsoever. But in terms of just chunky, solid playability, not that I can really recommend that you play with a 30-year-old toy, because this is probably worth enough that you wouldn't want to. I don't know. I don't know what the market value for a vintage Megazord is. But it's probably worth enough that you wouldn't really want to just like casually be playing with it, because you wouldn't want to break it. because it's, you know, basically impossible to, you know, comfortably or affordably replace, you know. But yeah, so that's the tank mode. Let's get them real quick into the Megazord. The Megazord mode. And to do that, we're going to yank off this little chest plate here. These guns are going to go. The pterodactyl's going to go. And then the whole thing just kind of stands up. Here's something that I don't particularly like about it. So you've got this slot here that goes into this little tab here. But it really doesn't. Like, you can put it up there and it looks fine. But in actuality, what you got to do is you got to disconnect it and then reconnect it onto the back. And it's like, I don't know. I am of two minds about this. Like, on the one hand, it doesn't look bad. It doesn't look obnoxious. It's not an awful engineering decision, all things being considered. But at the same time, like, it's just, it feels a little cheap to have to do that. Now, the Sabertooth Tiger, of course, Tyrannosaurus has got the heel spur built into it already. Let me put that in frame. Sabertooth Tiger has got this little guy that folds out. And there's your heel spur for that Zord. And it actually works really well. But there's another option which I'll get to in just a moment. So you bring up the shoulders, bring the fists around. Did I bring the fists around the wrong way? Probably. Open this up, slide that down, clip that into place, put the horns into place. And there is the Megazord in all of its glory. And damn, it really does look good. It really does look really good. The option that I mentioned before is you can take these guys here and you can actually store them on the feet. You can see that there's like little clips in here. To allow you to clip these into place. And then they sort of act like the heels. Well, and these go right here on the back. And this is one of the things that I was talking about, that now, because you've got these, like, Mastodon joints in here, you can kind of move these forward. And I'm not sure if that's meant to be an intended gimmick, or if it's just, oh, we wanted to have moving legs on the Mastodon, and this is the side effect. But, yeah, it looks really good. It actually stands decently well. It is a little bit like back heavy. Like, I kind of wish that it had a little bit better heel support. And I don't know how big of an issue that's going to be when you throw in the Dragon Zord, because y'all know that's coming. But yeah, real quick, let's compare it with the original. And you know, I feel like the original holds up. Like, the original is still a pretty fun toy. Also, of course, you know, all the functionalities are there. You can put the shield on. Like with the original, you can do that with this guy here. And, of course, you know, you can do the old power sword thing. Oh, it looks a lot better on the new one. And so it is a fully functional, fully detailed Megazord, and it's really gorgeous. It's a lot of fun to play with. Chock full of, you know, details and whatnot. Now, I don't consider this a perfect Megazord, not by a long shot. There are a bunch of details on it that I don't really like. Like, I don't like these joints here. Like, when you're trying to move it around, his leg goes all the way forward, like all the way forward. And that's a joint that frankly shouldn't do that in the Megazord mode. The like weird pterodactyl joint now turns into this little flappy thing here, and there's no real way to secure that. The pterodactyl doesn't hold on very well. You've got to split the tail to get the waist posability. I like that it has waist posability. And so, like, I'm choosing to overlook that. There's this detail where you take the face off of the Megazord, and there's a sculpted print in there that has all of the Rangers, like, in the cockpit, which is kind of cool. There's no definitive stance on where the cockpit is actually supposed to be on the actual Megazord. Typically, because of the shape of the view screen, they kind of give the impression that it's in the chest. But since they show the cockpit at least a couple times when the chest isn't even on, then that's probably not where it is. I don't know. It's all nitpicky there by that point. But yeah. In my opinion, I forgot to go over the posability. So his head is on a ball joint, which is awesome. I really like that. Lots of good posability on that. Rotates fine. The arms go all the way around. The shoulders come out for most of a tree pose. Let me take this little shield off here. It's got a bicep swivel, an elbow joint. Wrist is on the little ball joint, which basically gives you the swivel. It's got a waist joint. Legs go forward that much. They go back not at all. It does have a thigh joint, though, because the foot of the T-Rex bangs into the T-Rex tail, so it's mostly just an inner thigh rotation. You've got a single joint knee for about 90 degrees of bend. It is technically a double joint if we're being super specific, because again, pterodactyl chest does not hold on very well. Because you've got a joint here at the Tyrannosaurus knee, And then you've got one in the actual, in this case, the Triceratops. But it still only amounts to 90 degrees of bend. You get some ankle rock, a little bit of forward and back. The toe will bend. And the same with the Sabertooth mode. You've got your ankle rock and up and down, and you've got adjustability on the head or toe. And so again, the engineering is pretty good. It's just there are places where I feel it could be better, you know? And I fully recognize, oh, well, this is a Hasbro toy. And Hasbro is not really known for putting in like they do effort on a budget, you know? And so what they'll make is pretty good for, like, I guess what I'm getting at is this is no Soul of Chogokin. It really is not. But also, the Soul of Chogokin is currently not available. It was $350 MSRP when it was available. Nowadays, you're lucky to find one for less than $600 or $800. Swappable hands. It does come with one pair of swappable hands. And so, all in all, is it the perfect Megazord? No. But because the Soul of Chogokin is going to rank you somewhere between $600 and $800, and even the Legacy Megazord that came out back in 2012, 2014? Gosh, I don't remember off the top of my head when that came out. Even that is going to hit you at about, $300 or $400. So right now, this really is the most affordable option. They do make some interesting choices with it in terms of visuals and aesthetics. But I'll be honest with you, I like those choices, all of them. I've heard people complain about the chest, how that doesn't look anything like anything on any of the shows or whatnot. And they're absolutely correct. It does not look anything like it ever did in any of the line arts or the shows or anything like that. However, I really love the way this looks. And it's got like the sawtooth pattern. The sawtooth pattern is sculpted into the outside, and then this hexagonal pattern is sculpted on the inside, and then the inside is painted. And I just think it looks so good. I really like the transparent bits here on the shoulders that have sculpted detail on the outside and on the backside. Like, that looks really good. I like that everything's all painted. There's no like stickers or anything like that. And everything is painted really well. Like, they put paint in places that they didn't necessarily need to. I was a little concerned with this guy. I'm not sure 100% if this was like that out of the box. I did notice it within about 10 minutes of pulling this out of the box. So it either was like that in the box or happened immediately. So, but that's the only real, this little paint mark here is the only piece of paint damage I've had, and I've transformed this a few times and posed it a bunch, and because it's not 100% stable, it has spilled a few times. It could have used some metal parts in the legs, especially, to just kind of give it more rigidity, more, gravitas. Yeah, it's not a perfect figure, but right now it's probably going to be the best figure that you're going to get your hands on, if you don't have one already. There was somebody that I was talking to the other day who was like, yeah, I had pre-ordered it, and then I canceled my pre-orders. And someone else asked him, well, why did you cancel your pre-orders? And he says, well, I already have all three of the Soul of Chogokin Zord sets, which is going to be, he's referring to the Megazord, the Dragon Zord, and the Ultra Zord. He says, I've already got all of them, and I just figured, why would I need this as well? And I said, yeah, I don't even have a Soul Chigokin, and I can tell you that if you've got one, you absolutely don't need this. And that's where I would stand on my recommendation for anyone else. If you don't have a Megazord yet, this is probably going to be the best one that's going to come out for the foreseeable future. If you do have one, I don't know specifically if I can recommend this over the Legacy Megazord, having never handled it. Like, there are some things on this that I feel like are probably better than the Legacy Megazord, but maybe there's some things on the Legacy that people think are better than this one. That's going to be up to personal opinion. In terms of, like, if I was able to just straight up choose between this and the Soul of Chigokin, absolutely I would pick the Soul of Chigokin. But I don't know. It's not a bad choice. It's just not the best choice. That's what I'm getting at. And for the price right now in this day and age, in, September of 2020 when I'm filming this, it's probably the best choice for your dollar. But anyhow, that's a really complicated recommend. But that's all I've got right now. Stay tuned. I am planning on getting the Dragon Zord, and they haven't announced a King Brachion or whatever they called him, Titanus. They haven't announced one of those yet, but I know that they will, and I'll pick that one up too because I've decided that I am a sucker for it. So. Everybody, thanks for watching. You guys are fantastic. Everybody stay awesome and be good to each other. See ya.